Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. If you guys are new to my channel, I make a lot of spooky and creepy related content, and I'm back again with another one. Actually back with a new episode of Country Spooks. I know it's been a very long time, I'm sorry. Like I said in the last video, I was going through some stuff, but I'm back here again with a new episode, and today I'm going to be talking all about Colorado. Colorado is literally like up there on my top 10 places I want to visit in the country. I don't know why, I just think that it's a beautiful place and I would love to visit. But this story that I'm about to talk to you guys about today is a little crazy and kind of makes me want to visit the place even more. So today I'm going to be talking about the haunted house of the Black Forest in El Paso, Colorado. This place is insane. Oddly enough, I'm really surprised that nobody has picked this up and like done something with it. Like nobody turned this into a movie or even a TV show or a documentary, at least from what I understand, that it's nowhere, you know, in the film kind of world, which usually stories like this do turn into film adaptations. It's just weird that this one hasn't. So like I said, this house is located in El Paso, Colorado, which is close to Colorado Springs. And this area is what people consider to be very like sparse. And because it's so sparse, you know, it's like the place to go for camping and to just kind of like enjoy the wilderness and just have a good time. And it's known for like all of its beautiful nature and like, you know, hiking routes and things like that. And that is kind of like what attracted the Lee family to move there in the first place. So a couple named Stephen and Lee moved to this property in the Black Forest in 1991, specifically because they were a young couple with two sons who kind of just wanted to get away from their Louisiana living life. And they thought that this was the perfect place because while it wasn't completely deserted, there was enough space and enough quietness to like suit their needs. So they thought this place was perfect, especially since it was so beautiful. They, however, were completely oblivious to the actual terrors of this place. And here is probably arguably one of the most frustrating things about this entire story was that the person who actually sold them this property was haunted themselves and was well aware of the paranormal activity happening in this building, but they didn't tell anyone because they didn't think that somebody would want to buy it, obviously, but also they didn't think that somebody would believe them. So it's kind of like you could have spared these people endless nights of terror if you were just honest. But at the same time, I don't believe that either. I don't know. Well, we're just gonna get into it and talk about it. They had no idea about any of the paranormal things going on in this house, and so they really walked into this super oblivious. They just saw this property and thought that the price was unbelievable and that they were gonna take it, and that was that. From what we understand, the like first paranormal occurrence happened like within the very first week that this family moved in, and it happened with their sons. They first started complaining about these weird lights kind of shining in through their windows from outside, like from out in the woods, because like I said, their house was right in the middle of the woods. So whatever was reflecting outside was coming into their windows, and that was one of the very first complaints. But then they started complaining about actually seeing shadowy figures in their room. And like most parents, Stephen and Beth kind of just like dismissed this because they thought that it was like just child imagination and that it was nothing serious, because there were logical reasons as to why things like this was happening, but they mostly just thought that their kids were just being kids and just making it up, until it started happening to them. Within the very first 48 hours of being there, Beth and Stephen started noticing the very same things that their son noticed, is like the random lights being reflected into their room and like the random shadowy figures kind of like moving around and about in their bedroom as well. But then it started getting a little bit more aggressive as the week gone on. And keep in mind, this is only the very first week of them being there. Doors in the house would begin to close by themselves. Like lights and electrical appliances would turn off and on by themselves. They would hear noises like thumps and bangs. They would even hear like people walking upstairs in their attic, even though that was kind of impossible because there was no entranceway up there. There was no way to get up there. So it's not like there could be anyone up there. But they would just hear these very crazy and aggressive noises, and that's a thing that kind of gets me. This haunting was kind of, it didn't feel like a regular haunting, as in like they were like the ghost or the presence was slowly trying to make themselves known to the people living there. It was kind of like they just wanted them out. That's what Beth eventually describes the feeling, was that she just felt like they just wanted the family out completely. The creepiest things that started happening to me, besides the fact that they would hear footsteps and things like that, was that sometimes they would actually hear random music playing in the hallway. And it wouldn't be any of their kids, because they didn't have the technology to play that music. Like, they weren't allowed to play music after certain hours of the night or whatever. But they would hear this very random music, and music that they knew that their children wouldn't possibly know about. So that was like probably one of the creepiest things in my opinion. And then it just started like escalating from there. If you don't think that it's creepy enough to hear random music, they also began to smell very sketchy chemical odors that they could not trace back to anything. Like, at first Steven thought that there was probably something wrong with the pipes, or that there was something burning or something going on nearby that would cause that smell, but there wasn't. And just to top that off, it wasn't like a constant smell to where it's like you could follow the smell and maybe search down where it's coming from. It was more so kind of like random spurts and in random places of the house. But they said that the odor would be sometimes so strong to the point where it would burn their nose and their eyes. And because of this, they kind of fell into the routine of like avoiding certain areas of the house where that odor was the most strong. So Beth was really different from her husband. Her husband was definitely the more logical one in this situation. He kind of didn't believe that anything paranormal was going on, and he always tried to find a rational explanation for everything, even when it was impossible to. Beth is convinced that the house is haunted, that there is some evil shit in the house, and Steven's not. So what he does is he spends a lot of time and a lot of money getting surveillance cameras and equipment and sets it all up all over the house, because he thinks that they're actually just being messed with by trespassers. That, you know, like the footsteps they're hearing and like the rattling chains upstairs and the music is all trespassers fucking with them. The family actually reported over 60 accounts of attempted break-in. Yes, 60 accounts. Here's the kicker. Every time they went over the surveillance footage, there was nothing there. There was no proof of anybody stealing anything or breaking in. It was just the alarms going off, and sometimes like orbs, like little tiny floating orbs and things like that, but there was nothing solid to say that there was a home invasion. Like I said, most of the things that they would catch on this footage would be just distorted images, like the orbs that, like I mentioned, streaks of lights, things like that that really do kind of lean towards the fact that it's paranormal activity versus people, but he still wasn't convinced. After hooking up his own surveillance and realizing that that was kind of a dead end, he decided to contact the El Paso police and get authorities involved, because he was still convinced that somebody was breaking into his house and fucking with his family, which to me is just crazy. And not only did he contact the police, he also hired a private investigator to like check out his house ever so often, and they literally made 40 separate reports of attempted break-ins, and there was no proof of any type of break-in. There was no proof. So I would say after 40 attempts of contacting the police just stopped taking them seriously and kind of withdrew from like the whole situation, because there was nothing to report. This is kind of where Steven like got his head out of his ass and like decided to contact a really popular show, a really popular paranormal show in the 1990s called Sightings. So this happened in 1995. It's been clearly a long time since they've been there, and they finally decided to contact Sightings. And the first time, they came out twice, guys. I just want to throw that out there. The first time that the crew came out, they came out with a psychic. And this psychic said that he felt the negative energy the second he walked into this house, and that he thinks that there are at least 20 entities that live in the house and that are trapped, essentially. This entire experience with Sightings the very first time was very terrifying and very, like, detrimental, because, you know, the spirits or the entities or whatever was in the house was messing with them to no end. They were knocking over tripods. They were just like messing with their overall recording process. Like, it was like they didn't want them to film there. They didn't want them to expose of what was happening in the house. And even a crew member reportedly said that they were attacked by one of these spirits. They said that they felt like something jumped on them and like held them down and even kind of like went inside of them and possessed them, because they felt like after they were inside of them, they felt numb and they didn't feel like they were in control of themselves. So they think that they were possessed. They leave and then they come back 6 months later with a new psychic named Peter James. Peter James, while he was in the house, he kind of said the same thing as the first guy, that the energy was insanely intense. However, he said that there's something more sinister going on in this house. To him, he said that there was a portal to another world in the house. Yes, guys, yes. A portal to the other world. They were unaware for quite a long time that in the upper bedroom, there was a mirror inside of a closet, and the mirror was over 100 years old. Well, this psychic said that that mirror is the gateway from the real world to the spirit world, and that's why there's such a bad negative energy here. It's not like the house is necessarily haunted, but the house is like home to a portal to the other world. And recently, a very evil and very old entity has gotten out of the portal and they are into the new world, and that is why all of this crazy, creepy shit has been happening. Like, can you imagine if that happened to you? I think I would just leave. I'd run away and I'd leave and I'd never come back. So after filming, Peter James, the psychic, went home, and one night while he was sleeping, he woke up in severe amount of pain, and he actually had welts all over his forehead. He was rushed to the hospital, and the craziest thing about this was that the doctor said that those welts were impossible, that just couldn't have been, that there's no way that could have happened, because there's no physical like evidence that he was harmed in any way, so they didn't know how to treat him. However, when he went back home and he kind of had it under control, he looked at pictures that were taken of him and pictures that he's taken while he was at, you know, the house and the Black Forest, and he found a picture of him that was taken of him where there was like just a streak across his forehead, which kind of looks similar to the welts on his forehead, and he still thinks that there was some kind of connection there, that he was essentially whipped by a ghost, and that's the reason why he had those welts and why it was so unexplainable. But yeah, guys, there's so much paranormal evidence that happened in this place, and there are so many skeptics, obviously. I think at this point people go there just to visit and just to like have tours and stuff, but there's just too much to talk about in one video. That's how crazy this house and this property was, and this forest was. Keep in mind, this is just the house. There is an unspeakable amount of paranormal activity in that entire forest, and I can't help but to think that it has to do with that vortex that was inside of the house, which, if that's true, just think about all the spirits roaming around in that forest. I think I'm just gonna mention one more thing that I kind of found a little crazy, but because there was a lot of skeptics, they were really convinced that the FBI had a hand in this. They really thought that the FBI knew more than they let on, and that this was some kind of trap. But that is as far as I want to go with that. I think that theory should just be thrown out the fucking window, because why? I don't know. Would you guys visit Black Forest? Because I think I probably would, because I'm that kind of person. But yeah, guys, that is all that I have for you today. I hope you guys liked this episode of Country Spooks. If you guys did, please give my video a big thumbs up. It supports me and it lets me know that you guys like this series. Also, hit the subscribe button to become a member of the Ghosty fam, and to see the next episode of Country Spooks, hit the notification so you guys know when my next video comes out. Like always, please comment down below what you thought, and also comment down below what's the next state that I should do for my series. I hope you guys are having a great day. Stay cool, stay spooky, and I will